podcast. All right. Hello, everyone. It's Maggie Ostara. I'm delighted that you are joining us here today, or watching the replay later. Welcome to our weekly Wednesday webinars. I have really enjoyed providing these every week, and I will continue to do so for the next 5 weeks. And then we're going to have something new that's going to start getting going. And I'll let you know about it when we get closer to that time. And I do have some announcements for you today too. So basically the way that the next 5 weeks are going to go, today we're going to talk about pure generators and superpowers. And then we're going to talk about all of the types. So we'll go pure generators, manifesting generators, projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. And that is in the order of the most of us who are those types. Now, generators and manifesting generators are approximately the same amount. So we had to pick one, and I'm a pure generator, so I picked mine. And it's good to have a sense of the pure generator before you go to the manifesting generator anyway, because there's a lot of foundational elements that are similar. But then there are some important differences. And so we're going to talk about the pure generator today and then build on that next week when we talk about the manifesting generators. So I want to just say hi to those of you who are here. You're coming online here on Zoom. I'm going to invite you to just say hello in the chat. Make sure that you select everyone or panelists, attendees, so that whatever you say goes to all of us and not just to me. And to say where you're coming in from, and let me know what your human design type is. So I have an idea of the composition of who we'll be exploring with today. And same thing for those of you who are over here on Facebook, to go ahead and put in the, who's here, where you're coming in from, and say hello. I'm just going to write this over here for the people on Facebook. Name, type, where from. Okay, so just inviting everybody to come on in, and yeah, we can start our, I'm going to open up my chat here. I always like to start by saying hello. Hi, Julie. Hi, Julie Flippin. That's really great. And she's north of Toronto, and she's a generator. It's good to have you here, Julie. And Elizabeth Germain. Hi, Elizabeth. Oh, good to see you. See you. She's here from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And Lorna's here. Hi, Lorna. And she's also a generator. She's here from Novato. And Katyun, who's here from California, who's a pure generator. Lori, who's here from Oregon, Bonnie, who's here from Phoenix, and Paige, sometimes come in as a projector. Oh, right. Okay, got it. Because I was going to say, somehow, Paige, I was associating you with projectors, but that's because of your husband. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. I know there's more of you who are here online that are saying hello. So hi, Deirdre from Oakland. We've got all the generators gathering. Yay. And if we have time today, we may do some coaching for those of you who are generators who you want to be able to understand a little bit better how to access your superpowers, or if there are things that you are aware of that you're kind of like, I don't quite get that. I don't quite know how to work with that. This is something that I have found to be really common for people who, they know their type. They maybe have had a reading. They've maybe read some books. They've even had worked with a professional before, taken a class, but they still feel like, I don't quite get how to utilize my superpowers. And if that's true for you, as we're going through this, just know that you're not alone, that you are in really good company, and that it a lot of times it takes a while to be able to take in this new perspective, because human design is a very different perspective. It is not part of our common culture at all. That's why I say it's common culture, counterculture, which is one of the reasons I personally love it. And I also really align with the way that it helps bring out these superpowers that we all have and that differ based on our design that we all have, and helps us to appreciate our own uniqueness, our own differences. It helps give us permission to not try to fit in, to be able to own what is true for us and value it and express it and live it and be it, without, it helps to really calm down those voices that you might have inside that criticize you for not fitting in, or for traits that somebody told you weren't okay. I hear this a lot, and I certainly had my share of this as well. So as we go through this, and as we go through this series, I just want you to be taking in what's true for you based on your type, but then also you're going to have people in your life who you love who are going to have different types, people that you work with, people that you live with. And so you want to be aware of what's true for them too. And my invitation to you is to both, identify, own, and express your own superpowers, and support that in the people who are around you. This is one of the ways that we can help people empower themselves. I don't really believe we empower other people. I believe we support people to empower themselves, to help give them permission to liberate themselves from the ways that they have, really tried to confine themselves to fit into a slot that isn't actually who they are. And so this is one of the beautiful ways, as members of communities and families, that we can support each other in this great evolutionary process that we are in right now, that we know already has to address climate change. If we don't address climate change, there's not a whole lot else that's really going to matter. So we really have to address climate change. We have to address the institutionalized racism and sexism that we've seen, poverty, mass incarceration, all of these different things. And the way that we do that, in my view, is that when we can access the truth of who we are, when we can access what our own superpowers are, when we can be guided in the way that's right for us based on our design into what is what is right for us to do, and it's going to be different for all of us, then we can effectively address the challenges that we are facing in our world today. And so I just invite you to open your heart, open your mind, be willing to be challenged to some degree, potentially. And I hope that you can embrace it in a good way. I know that I was deeply challenged when I first learned about my human design. And it took me a while to be willing to receive the benefits, the insights and the benefits that I learned. So if that's true for you, just know that you're not alone. And yeah, if you want to go ahead and just put into either the comments on Facebook or here on Zoom, if this resonates for you, if you know that you have heard before about some of the aspects of your type, but you haven't quite known how to work with them, please just go ahead and put that in there and let me know what they are, because that'll help me get some more understanding about how I can best support you. So I want to just say hi to those of you who are tuning in on Facebook. We have Paula, who is in Texas, and she's a generator, and Deborah, who's a projector, and Carol, who is a generator. And I know there's a few more of you here. Well, Carol, can you say whatever that means? Well, you're going to find out a lot more about generators here today. Okay, great. So why don't we go ahead and, so Lorna says I could use help making a decision. I'm a pure generator. Okay, yeah, decision making is your authority. And we will talk about that a bit today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some slides. I'm going to go over some slides for, I don't know, it's sometimes hard for me to tell how long I'm going to talk, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And then we'll have a chance to talk about what's on your mind, what's on your heart, where are your challenges. And I invite you as I go through to make notes for yourself or put them in the chat or comments on Facebook so I can come back and look at them later, so that you don't lose them in the flow of the information that I'm going to share with you today. All right, so let me share my screen. Okay, so just go ahead and put in the chat if you can see my screen okay, or if you're on Facebook, if you can see that, just say yes. And I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay, chat. Oops. Mhm. Okay, so a couple of you can see it. All right, great. So you can see today we're going to talk about the pure generator superpowers. I actually love talking about superpowers. And I want to let you know that my Activate Your Superpowers class that I taught earlier this year is going to reopen on a week from Friday. And so I'll be letting you know more about that. It's a 10-session class covering all the fundamentals of human design. And it's delivered via video training so that you can watch them at your own leisure. And then I also provide both materials that you can work with. So there's assignments that you can work with, and then also we'll do Q&A calls. So you'll have a chance to come on live with me and get your, get your questions answered and get any coaching that you need. So it's a great class. The people who took it before just loved it. And I think it will really help you orient to um, human design in a way that you'll find really empowering. Okay, I want to make sure to remind you of that. Oh, I also wanted to tell you that my new website, human design website, I haven't done like a reveal of it yet or anything, but you can go check it out if you want. It's called, it's sovereigntybydesign.com, sovereigntybydesign.com. And so if you want more information or you want to know more things, then you can just check that out. All right. All right. So let's just take a look at the human design mandala. I always think it's good to remember that this is a beautiful system. It has many, many parts. And so even as we in this series pull out the types and talk about them, it's only a portion of what this incredible system can tell us about who we are, about how we're designed, and who we are as individuals, who we are as types, and who we are as a humanity. Because there's many different layers to human designs. There's our types, there's our authorities, there's our profiles, there's our definition, there's our openness, there's where our planets are, there's all the different gates. There's so many different aspects of the chart and of the system. And so it's wonderful to get a professional reading from me or someone else that can really help you get a sense of the totality of your chart, even as we're just pulling out a little piece here today. All right, so let's talk about generators. So all generators, whether they're pure generators or manifesting generators, have their sacral center defined. So this red square right here is the sacral center. Okay. And it's always colored red if it's colored. Okay. So it's either white, the way these other centers are white here, which would make it open. And that would mean you're not a generator. It doesn't tell you what you are, but it does tell you you're not a generator. But anytime that it's colored in red, it means that you're a generator. So the sacral center is the most powerful engine in the chart. Okay, let me just briefly say there are 4 engines or 4 motors in the chart. There's the sacral here, there's the will center here, the emotional solar plexus, and the root. Today we're talking about the sacral center. The sacral center is the most powerful engine in the chart. It's the center for life force energy. It's Shakti, it's prana. I started having an even more nuanced understanding of the power of this center when I started doing Kundalini yoga. So I've been doing Kundalini yoga for just about 2 years now, but I had recommitted and restarted during COVID. My teacher, Kia Miller, started to teach, she did an 8-day retreat, first of all, and then she did a 40-day practice using Kundalini yoga. And so I did both of those. So that was about a 2-month series. And then I've been practicing still on my own. And one of the things that's really highlighted in the yoga tradition in particular, but I never got it in my like vinyasa or hatha classes, the way I get it in Kundalini, is the navel point, is the power of the navel point. And they talk about it a little bit differently because the Indian chakra system is different than the centers in human design. But the point here is that you're always constantly activating the navel point in Kundalini yoga, whether that's through doing what you might consider ab work, right, which is strengthening that point, or whether it's through doing breath of fire, which is like this. And you're constantly pushing in your belly and your navel point. So you're constantly stimulating that navel point. And when I came out of my first Kundalini yoga retreat that I had done with Kia, I did 31 minutes of breath of fire for 130 days. So 31 minutes. Stimulating that navel point. And it was absolutely life-changing to do that. And part of it is that you're building energy in that navel point by doing that. And then you do other practices where you actually squeeze that energy up into the brain. So you're generating all this power down in that lower center, and then you squeeze it up through the heart, up through the throat, into the head and ajna. So that's what you do in Kundalini yoga, so that you're generating all this power, and then you're sending it out into different parts of your system. It's a super awesome practice, which I highly recommend. But one of the things I got out of that was, okay, so for generators, we've all got the center defined already. Because it's defined, that means we have ongoing, ready, reliable access to the power of the center, okay? That's what it means when it's defined. Ongoing, ready, reliable, consistent, even fixed way of experiencing this energy. If it was open, it would mean we had a variable relationship with this energy. So if you're a projector, a reflector, or manifester, they would pick up this energy when they're around generators, or pure generators or manifesting generators, and then they would amplify it. So they would feel it for a period of time, but when they move away from them, that energy would drain out. So they do not have consistent or a fixed way of experiencing that energy. So I was thinking about this. So for generators, it's really about helping us get in touch with that energy and building power there. And I think changing our relationship to that powerful energy that we already have there, it's stimulating it and building it. But for people who don't have it defined, which is about, let's see, 30, about 30% of the population don't have it defined. So it's a sizable chunk of people. It would be teaching them how to stimulate the energy in that place. So for the manifestors and projectors and reflectors in your lives, to you generators who are out there, that could be something interesting to suggest that they look into. And I will mention this when we go through the types again. But for generators and manifesting generators, we already have this engine here already defined. We have ongoing, ready, reliable access to this energy. It's a virtually inexhaustible, provided that you're following your strategy, using your authority, and taking care of yourself, okay? So it's even possible for generators and manifesting generators to burn out. I actually had a pattern of burning out. And the way that I burned myself out is I was not following my strategy or using my authority, or in the end, taking care of myself. Now, why wasn't I? Well, initially, because I didn't know what they were. I was ignorant, right? I didn't know my human design. And I had been really conditioned to act like a manifester, which was to initiate. And then also to make decisions with my head, to plan, to strategize, to analyze, and then plot things out in my life. And make them happen regardless. And so my pattern was, and see if you relate to any of this, was I'd get an inspiration, which I do, because that's in my chart, is getting inspiration. And then I would go, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I would strategize it. I'd analyze the best way to do it, and then I'd plan it out, and then I'd do it. And sometimes it would work out, but often what would happen is I would kind of get going with it. And because I'd committed to doing it, I did it, but I lost my energy for it. And I had to push myself to make it happen. Well, if you do that enough times, you will burn yourself out, even if you are a generator. So think about that for yourself. Were there times that you got an idea, you initiated it, you went after it, you analyzed it, you used your mind to decide it was a good idea, and then you found that you lost all your energy for it, and you really had to push yourself to make it happen? That is kind of a classic way that generators burn themselves out. Another way that they do it is by doing work that is not right for them. Okay, doing work that is not right for them. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. It's super, super important for generators to be doing the work that is right for them. But that's the other mean way that they can burn out. So let's talk about these superpowers, okay? So one of the things that we have as generators is that we have inner direction. Now, some of these you're going to be familiar with, but with more kind of standard human design language. But I want to put this into a somewhat different way of thinking about them, because I think it might be more accessible to you and not as jargon filled if I do it this way. Okay, so inner direction. So one of the questions I would just say to yourself is, how do you decide what to do, right? How do you decide what to do in your life? How do you decide to go this way versus that way? How do you know what your direction is? How do you know what's right for you? These are big questions that I think a lot of us are really in right now with what's going on in the world, right? I know for quite a while, at the beginning of COVID, I could every day in my meditation, and when I was at my altar praying, I would say, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? What is mine to do in this situation? And so I was putting out the question, which is one of the ways that I can then be guided by spirit, right? I was putting out the question. And then I was looking for some kind of inner direction to show up for me. Okay. Now, you can think of this as your authority in human design. Okay. According to human design, our authority is our sacral center. It is the nonverbal response of our sacral center. So if we look again just at where the sacral is, right? The sacral is your gut. So I'm sure you've heard the proverbial trust your gut, right? Taste of it. Now, what I would say is that's not necessarily true for everyone, but it is true for generators. And that's 70% of the population. So that's a lot of us, okay? Trust your gut. The thing is, look at how far away the sacral is from the throat, right? It's really far away from the throat. And if you're a pure generator, you don't have this connected to your throat. You don't have any of the motors connected to your throat. If you're a manifesting generator, you have one of the motors connected to your throat. It's actually the difference between a pure generator and a manifesting generator. But in any event, for a pure generator, you don't have a motor connected to the throat. You may have a defined throat, but it's not connected to a motor. And so what that means is that your inner direction, if you were, is not very verbal, right? It's not about language. It doesn't have language to explain itself in that way. So you're really practicing tuning in to get a sense of what this inner direction is trying to say to you. What is this inner direction trying to say to you? The way I like to think about this, where this inner direction comes from, is the sacral, and this is a superpower, absolutely, is your connection with whether you want to consider it your higher self, or your guardian angel, or spirit, or your inner being, right? I mean, in my world, those mean different things, but the most important thing is for you to have your own understanding of what aspect of the non-physical is helping to guide you. Okay? The non-physical energies or beings that are of highest frequencies coming from the light that are here to support us. Like, I have a guardian angel or a solar angel that I consult. And I also have a sense of my inner being, which I feel is a little bit different than my guardian angel. But I consult both of them. I tune in to all of that. And I ask my sacral to give me a response. And it's only going to give you an answer. It's not even going to give you yes, no. It's just going to go, oh, or And what's interesting is when I do readings for people, as I explain this to them, if they're a generator, they're usually sitting there going, oh, to things that I'm saying. And I'll go, that right there, that's your sacral. And they go, oh, that's my sacral. I'm like, there's my sacral, right? See, I didn't even do that on purpose. It was just what came out, because the sacral is my guide to be able to say, oh, yeah, I agree with that. I get that. Yeah. Oh, interesting. It's like this response that we have. And sometimes you're going to get a I actually now have very strong head responses, sometimes without even the sound. It's like, if it's really strong, it's going to be like whole body, or so you want to tune in for yourself is, how does that inner direction express itself through you, right? Through you. It's not so much to you, it's through you. It's through you, through the or even a, right? So that's what you're looking for. Now, I'll just say about half of us overall are emotionally defined. I'm not going to go into this in detail. I actually did an entire webinar a few weeks ago that was on authority. So I invite you to go and check that out in the Sovereignty by Design Facebook group, and go more deep into authority if you want to find out more about authority. But the short version here is that if you are emotionally defined, especially for big decisions, you just need to ask multiple times along your emotional wave, because sometimes you're going to feel a little more up, sometimes you're going to feel a little more down, and you want to get a consistent yes all the way through that emotional wave, so that you do not make decisions emotionally. Sometimes people, when they see that they're emotionally defined, they think, oh, I'm designed to make emotional decisions. It's like, no, actually, it's just the opposite. Is that in order to not make decisions too emotionally, then you want to just know about your wave, right? Because there's some days where you're just going to say, you know, just something that actually might really turn out to be great. And if you ask consistently over time, you're looking for that yes. Okay, so guided by spirit. Guided by spirit is our strategy. So I love this piece. And it's something that has made my life so much easier. These two right here have made my life so much easier, because I have believed that my life was guided by spirit for a long time, long before I came to human design. But I didn't know what that meant or how to do that. You know, I mean, sometimes I'd get an inner impulse that was so strong. It was like, oh, okay, well, I can't miss that one. But when it became to be more kind of regular daily things, or things where I was kind of confused, I was like, God, how do I know, right? Definitely the helps. But the other thing is, as a generator, we're designed to respond. Excuse me. We're designed to respond. I also did a whole webinar on strategy, so you can go and dig into that a little bit more if you want to, in order to get some more information about what I'm sharing right now. But the beautiful thing about this is that our outer world, what's going on in the outer world, is the way that, whether you consider it your inner being, your guardian angel, or spirit, I like to call it the flow of life, right? The flow of evolution, the evolutionary impulse that is moving through our planet right now. I like to call it that. Any of those are bringing you things to respond to in your outer reality. Sometimes they come from something a friend will say to you. Sometimes it's something that'll come to you in a book that you read. Maybe it'll be an email that comes into your inbox. Maybe it'll a video that you watch on a website. something you get in the mail. There's many, many ways that things can come to you that you then get to respond to. A lot of times when people hear this idea, they see it on their chart that says wait to respond. They think that that means I have to just wait at home for something to respond to. And they don't realize that, you know, as generators, we have things to respond to all day, every day. You don't usually have to wait very long for things to respond to. Now, if you have a big question, you might have to wait a little while until you really feel like you get a strong thing to respond to. But I find that I have things to respond to all the time. Like there's no shortage of things for me to respond to. You just kind of have to open up to that. Now, the way that you can see this is you do the question, like I just said earlier, my question early on in COVID, what is mine to do, right? I was asking spirit to show me what is mine to do. And sure enough, I got the inner impulse about what to do. And this is when I started this webinar series and created Resiliency by Design, because I got that to respond to. Same thing when we had the uprisings for Black Lives Matter and racial justice that have been sweeping through the world. I was like, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? And I got really things to respond to. So I started an anti-racist group among a group of white women who are here local to me. I also am participating in another reading group, anti-racist reading group, that's facilitated by someone else. And then I also did a series in this webinar series talking about sovereignty and racial justice and social justice, and you know, how can human design help us to understand what our role is at this time. So those were all things that I got to respond to that came out of the question of what is mine to do. And I had to be paying attention both to the inner impulses that were coming, that I then got to say, oh, should I do this? Oh, or should I do that? Because I had other opportunities of ways to participate that I gotta know, now it's not the right time. Maybe later. So you really, really want to learn how to work with that inner direction and being guided by spirit through your strategy and your authority. These are huge superpowers that we have. And one of the reasons that they're superpowers is they help us to see they help us to see that we are not alone. They help us to realize that we are co-creating our lives with much larger forces that are here to support us. Okay. So builders of the world. So, excuse me, I'm just gonna suck my cough drop here for a second. I get a dry throat sometimes when I'm teaching. Go ahead and put in the comments or in the Zoom chat about any ahas or questions or any confusion that you might have, or also any sharing that you have about, wow, yeah, you know, there was a time when I really used my strategy and this is what happened, or this was a time when I was using my authority, you know, when I really tuned into that and this is what happened, or I tried it and it totally didn't work and I didn't know what to do, like any of those things. I want to hear how this is landing for you. Okay. All right. We got a few more here to go through. Builders of the world. So as those who have virtually inexhaustible life force energy, when we are tuning into our inner direction and when we're being guided by spirit and we're not making decisions and planning and strategizing our lives with our heads, we're not designed to do that. Actually, nobody is in human design. When we are doing the right work, we are builders, and we are the builders of the world. Generators are incredible builders. We're the, you know, content creators. We're, you know, the people who can build buildings. You know, we can build anything, really. It's what we're designed to do. But the challenge for us a lot of times as generators is if we're not doing the right work, we can get trapped inside of jobs that are not right for us. And we can do those jobs because we have so much energy. And eventually we can burn out. But, you know, I just think of people working in cubicles or working, I don't know, construction sites or in agricultural fields who have the energy to be able to do that. The question is it your right work? And you will know if it's your right work because you will have a lot of energy. If you do not have a lot of energy and you have to make yourself go to work every day, you're not doing the right work. And just know that as a generator, it's really a red flag for you. We're also designed for mastery. This is really cool. None of the other types really have this at the level that we do or in the way that we do, because you've probably heard, mastery comes from your 10,000 hours of practicing whatever it is that you're learning. Now, the thing is with generators is we learn through a kind of stepping trajectory. So we, are learning, and then we hit plateau. And it's like, and then learning, and then, so we need to be able to stay through those plateaus and not quit. But it can be tricky because you could be working, and like it initially, but then be like, oh man, this is not the right work for me. Versus working. Okay, I need to integrate everything I've been learning. I need some time, not going to be learning a lot more right now. Those are two very different things. So you want to learn how to discern whether or not you're just in a plateau and you need to keep going towards your 10,000 hours of mastery, or you're not doing the right work. How do you do that? By asking your inner authority, by asking your inner direction, and being guided by spirit. Okay, so you see how these things start to work together. But when you're doing your right work, when you are tuning in for what is yours to do, and if it's the right time to do, then as a generator, you have virtually inexhaustible energy to do pretty much anything you want to do. You can create a life that is deeply satisfying, deeply exciting, super fulfilling. And you can do that and still have plenty of energy for all kinds of different things that you want to do. And you can be really buoyed and supported by what I like to call my upstairs team, so that it happens with so much less stress and with so much more ease. So now this last one here, I always like to mention this. A lot of times people don't, but we also have really strong sex drive or libido, because that sacral center is also the center for sexuality. It's life force energy, right? What is life force energy? It includes sexual energy. So I just want to say to you, if your libido is down or your sex drive is down, unless you're ill, okay, that means that somewhere along the way, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not using, your inner authority. You're not being guided by spirit. You're working against your design in some way. Now, some of us kind of go, if you haven't had a partner for a long time, you might go into hibernation. But even then, you can still have sexual energy. Like, I know I don't have a partner right now. I haven't for a while. And I channel a lot of that sexual energy into my work. But I know that it's sexual energy. And I know that when the time is right and I have a partner again, I will have plenty of sex drive again, because I can feel it in my body. It's a certain kind of life force energy. So I would encourage you to check that out for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to just give you a few questions here that I want you to consider, and then we're going to come over and have discussion. So be putting your questions in and your comments both in the chat and on Facebook. Okay, so your most vital questions for yourself to know if you are utilizing your superpowers. Okay, which means, can you access and appropriately use this incredible power that you have in your sacral, right? Are you using your inner direction to tell you if something is right for you or not, or if it's the right time? Are you working with spirit to help you navigate what is right for you to do, right? Are you doing the right work? And, that doesn't have to be a job. I mean, I haven't had a job for 23 years now. Doesn't have to be a job. But even so, even inside of my own businesses, sometimes I was doing the wrong job, if that makes sense. So you want to make sure you're doing the right work. Okay. Some of the ways that you can know if you are or not is how much energy do I have each day? Because if you don't have plenty of energy each day, something is off, okay? Am I frustrated or satisfied? So frustration in traditional human design is the what's known as the not self. I don't like that term, but I would just call it the shadow um, uh, emotion of the generator. Okay, if you're off your design, you're going to be frustrated. Okay, if you're feeling really satisfied, you're working in alignment with your design. Do I love my work? Do I love my work? If you answer no to that, chances are things are going to go rough for you because you can keep doing it, but it's not right for you. Do I feel sexy? Like, do I feel like I have sexual energy, whether I'm expressing it with another person or not? I hope you're expressing it with yourself, even if we're not with someone else. Do I feel sexy? Does that part of me feel alive? And then where do I go for guidance? Where do I go for guidance? Right? Do I go to my upstairs team? Do I go to my mind? Do I go to the news? I hope not. Tuning into what is right for me, right? And using your inner authority to tell you about that. All right, so I want to just give you this URL. This is my new website, sovereigntybydesign.com. So go check it out if you want, and I will do more of a reveal for it, and I will have some bonuses and stuff. I just haven't pulled all that together yet, but go check it out if you want. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. I think I'm good with this. All right, so let's see what y'all had to say. Start putting them in there. This is your chance. All right. Lori says, I've never really felt endless energy except while raising my kids. Okay. Well, let's see, Lori, you said something else. Is it possible that doing the right work means only working part-time? Sure. I mean, here's the thing. There's nothing here that says you have to work. I mean, here's the thing. Raising kids is work. Even if you weren't if you were staying home, Lori, that is work. Okay. So when I say work, I don't necessarily mean your JOB. And I don't even necessarily mean having a JOB or even a business. Like I said, raising kids is a job. Taking care of aging parents who need, a lot of care, that's a job. That's work. Okay. So any of those things count. All right. So let me just say that. And it's interesting to me, Lori, that you felt you had endless energy when you were raising your kids. So the questions I would pose to you are, did you push yourself or do things that were not in alignment for you while you were raising your kids so much so that you got burnt out later? Or was there something about raising kids that was super energizing and exciting for you that you loved? Or was there a way your life was going at that time that was stimulating your satisfaction? So you can go back to those questions and ask yourself and see if there's something in there that could give you a clue about that. Okay. Paige says, recovering the open flow of life force energy after life-threatening blockages. Yes. Now I see multi-layer metaphors. My work wasn't right. Yeah, well, a lot of times that's how we get into burnout as generators, because we aren't doing the right work, or we're not going about our work in the right way. Like, I think I was doing the right work before when I burned out, especially the last time. I think it was good work for me to do, but I wasn't doing it the right way. I was initiating, I was analyzing, I was taking guidance from my coach instead of from my inner being. I was pushing myself, you know what I mean? I grew too fast because that was kind of the way that my coach encouraged us all to go. So, okay. Jan says, sometimes it says, when it's not quite clear or there's not enough to process. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing that can happen. Jan, is that Jan Robinson? Say hi, Jan, if that's Jan Robinson. Sometimes you won't get an answer at all. I appreciate you bringing that up. Sometimes if you are asking and you don't get it, it's like blank. it usually means either you don't have enough information or it's not the right time. So then you need to just kind of wait and see, maybe go get some more information, talk to some people, you know, do some more research. Okay. Kat Yun says, I have all 4 motors defined and no motorized throat. My inner authority is solar plexus. I still make the sacral sounds. Yes. Well, so this is the thing. I want to clear this up because a lot of people get confused, because it does say, it says on your printout of your chart, yes, that your inner authority is your emotional solar plexus, but it's not really the accurate way to think about it, because you're not asking your emotional solar plexus for guidance. That's not what you're doing. You're still asking your sacral for guidance. It's just that you need to do it over time, because if you're defined emotionally, you need to make decisions over time so that you take your emotions into account. You know, think about the situation like, let's say you're at an event and you've just heard an incredible speaker, and they've totally motivated you to want to do something new in your life, whether that's something for your business or something for your health or something for your relationships, for your kids, whatever it is. And they have something that they are offering, right? They have a book, they have a program, whatever. They have something they're offering. And you just are like, oh my God, and you're so inspired by this person, right? And if you're emotionally defined, now, if you're just going to buy a book, it's one thing, you know, it's $20, right? But if you're going to sign up for a $500,000 or $2,000 program, you want to make sure it's the right thing for you, because you're so inspired in that moment that maybe 2 days later, you're going to go, why did I do that? Why did I do that? So you want to give yourself some time, right? And ideally, if you're in that situation, see if you have a refund policy, and you can just say, you know, I really need time to make decisions. I feel a really strong yes right now, but I need to feel it over the next few days. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes people just retreat into their comfort zone. And so if you are emotionally defined, you have to check that out for yourself, because sometimes people have an opening and they feel inspired and they're like, oh, you know, something new is possible for me. And then their kind of comfort zone comes in like this. So you need to learn to distinguish between just the wave of your emotional solar plexus and you wanting to stay safe in your comfort zone. I hope that's helpful. Okay. I'm happiest listening to my angel guides and aligning with divine energies. Great. So much energy comes through me that it can be almost too much for my body. Yeah, grounding. We are beings of earth and sky, right? Earth and sky. So we need both. So if you start to feel like you've got so much energy coming in, it's more than you can handle, or if you start to feel like you're popping out of your body, you want to get back down in your body. Go lie on the earth for a while. Swim in a river or an ocean if you can. Is it possible that oh yes, okay, I answered that one already. Katya, Lori Karen, Cray Parker says, work for us does not mean a job. It's more a calling, is my understanding, more receptive. Well, yeah, the only caveat that I would say about that is, let's see, how do I say this? Not everyone is fortunate enough to have the thing that they do to make money be their calling. Some of us are. I am. I hope many of you are. But some people are not, for whatever, given their life situation, given their level of privilege in the world. Not everybody is equally able to do that. And you can still be doing good work for yourself, work that you enjoy, work where you find satisfaction, even if it's not your calling. So that's the only caveat that I would have to that comment. Jan says, yeah, there's integration in the plantos. It's really important. Yes, we do. Yes. Yes. Okay. What can I do if the speaking, writing, sharing information, and content creation is more of a yes for me, and don't see the money to pay a manifester to set up the tech and platforms for me? Oh, I wouldn't have a manifester set up the tech. I would have another generator. Don't have a manifester set up the tech and that's not right for a manifester to do. Do not do that. You need another generator to do that. Okay. Um, and let's see. What can I do? Well, what I would do, Paige, just to tune into that, is to say, ask the question, right? Ask your question of your upstairs team or of your, your inner being. How can I wonder, I always like to start with, I wonder how I'm going to receive the resources I need in order to build my website and the platforms that I need. I wonder who the right person is going to be for that. I wonder how I'm going to find that person. I wonder how the resources are going to come for that. I wonder if it could come in some other way that I'm not even thinking about. I wonder if there's something else I need to prepare before I'm ready for that. I wonder if there's some research that I need to do or some other people I need to talk to. So I would start throwing that question out into the cosmic field and see what the flow of life brings you that you then get to respond to. But do not have a manifestor do your tech for you. Don't do that. They're not designed to build, okay? Manifestors are designed to initiate, and they are designed to create waves that we as generators then get to respond to. They are not designed to build like we are. Okay, so you're talking about a building thing, tech and building platforms. That's as a generator job. Okay, I like your no site. Thank you, Jan. And that is my intentional creativity, one of them, one of many, actually. Okay, yes, you're welcome, Kadun, and pay someone who does it well at any rate. Yeah. Yeah, so pay, yeah, absolutely. But just don't look for don't look for manifestor. I think there's it. And then I'm going to come over to, what's your understanding of how it works when, as a generator, you have a non-motorized defined throat with a defined ajna? I'm curious as a coach who's called to speak to larger groups. Yes. So, so when you have a defined throat and a defined ajna, well, tell me, Jan, is your throat connected to your ajna? Or is your throat defined another way? I mean, the only other way your ajna could be defined is if you have your head defined. So just clarify that for me, would you? But let's just assume that your head and your ajna is connected to your throat. So if your ajna is connected to your throat, then you're going to be having ideas. Okay, yeah, throat and ajna, yeah. You're going to be having ideas that, and can you tell me what your channel is that's connecting your throat and ajna? You're going to be having ideas that are going to be coming through, right, that are going to want to be expressed. But because you do not have a motorized throat, then, and is your throat connected? Oh, you have the 4320. I love that. Do you have your throat connected to anything else? Okay, any other things lower in the chart? So the 4323 is a part of the knowing circuit. And so this is where you're going to be plugging into super consciousness. And so you're going to, and I'm going to come, I just want you, for those of you on Facebook, I'm going to come over in a minute after I finish this question. You're going to be plugging into the super consciousness, right? Comes in through the head, comes into the ajna, comes in from the ajna into the throat through the 4323. Okay, this is a really beautiful, powerful channel that is going to help you bring in non-logical, non-rational inspirations and that are going to want to be expressed. Now the thing is, they're gonna be different. Okay, there are going to be things that you didn't learn anywhere. You didn't read it in a book. You weren't trained into it. Nobody told you. You're just going to receive it from super consciousness. So when you have ideas like that, you have to do it at the right time. Okay, you really have to do it at the right time. So that's part of where you want to tune into, like, with your strategy. Is it the right time? is it the right time for me to share these ideas? Because you need to be recognized. You need to be recognized in order for people to be able to hear you. That's part of response, is knowing that you've been recognized. So that's the most important thing that I can tell you, because otherwise, if you start sharing those type of ideas and you haven't been recognized, it's very likely either that people won't hear you or they'll think that you're crazy, because the 43 is known as the genius freak gate. I love it. I have the 43. All right. I hope that, yeah. And so you don't have anything else connected to your throat. So your main experience of that throat energy is going to, which is, in your case, it's expressive, not manifesting. It's expressive. So you're going to have wonderful senses of possibility, potentials, inspirations that are going to be important for you to share. But you need to do it at the right time. All right. So over here, let's see our comments. Come on, where's my rest of my comments? Hold on, let me see if I can get Facebook to cooperate here. Okay. Sorry that Facebook is not letting me see any of the older comments. I don't know why. So if all I can see is from Chris Broxson up, so if you wrote another comment in there that you want me to respond to, will you please put it in again? Facebook is so funky sometimes. Okay, so Chris says, in my therapy where I'm learning to express myself, the wrong approach, as I have had given my emotional abuse as a child, as I have a non-motorized throat and the other 4 motors, and I wake up thinking I can't on the therapy days. Okay, let me just see. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying, Chris. In my therapy, where I'm learning to express myself, the wrong approach, as I have given my emotional abuse. You know what, Chris, I'm sorry. I don't understand if there's a question here or not. Could you please just put that in again? Because I don't really understand what you're saying. I'm sorry. Okay. And then she also says her throat's defined, and where can I learn the definitions of channels? Well, my favorite book to give right now is the book of my mentor, who is Karen Curry Parker, Understanding Human Design. She does have several other books that she's completing right now. So there will be a quantum human design book out soon. And then when that comes out, I would encourage you to get that one. But for now, I would just get her Understanding Human Design. It has all the circuitry and the channels in it. Okay. All right, dears. Let me just see. Nope. Okay. So any more of you who are here on Facebook have anything else you want to comment? We're at the very end here. All right, so I have just a couple more comments here, and then I think we're going to wrap up. So Jan says, do you talk about the different lengths of the emotional wave? They're not all the same, right? I mean, in the emotional authority recording you mentioned. I do not. I mean, here's different ways of looking at it. I mean, when you get deep into human design, you might want to look at your circuitry and how your emotional wave is part of different circuits, and that can give you a sense of whether they're going to be more extreme or less extreme. I don't usually go there with people because it's a little bit of minutia. What is really important is for every individual to track their own emotional wave, because that's more unique to an individual than it is to the circuitry. So I've talked to people who said they have an emotional wave that's 24 hours. I've talked to people who said, you know, I'm up for like 4 or 5 days and then I'm down for a couple of days. Some people are like, oh, it's 2 days and 2 days. It's different for everybody. So if you are emotionally defined, and I do talk about this in that other webinar, what I would do is in your calendar, I would give yourself a scale of 1 to 10. You know, either way you want to do it. Like 1 is I'm my most excited, 10 is I'm deepest in the hole. And just give yourself a scale of 1 to 10. Either, you know, if you notice it changes through the day, it could be different parts of the day, or it could be over days, and track it. for 2 to 4 weeks and see what you come up with, because your own particular emotional wave is more important than knowing the circuitry. The circuitry can guide you a little bit about yours, but what's most vital is that you get to know your own. Okay. And Lori says, I have no channels connecting to my throat. Now I know to wait and be invited to speak, even though I have a defined top 2 head centers. Yes, good. And you know, the truth is, it's really good for everybody to be checking in to see if it's the right time to speak, even manifestors. Because I mean, I know some manifestors and they can be really obnoxious, even though they're designed to initiate, because they can just steamroll people because they're like, oh, I'm designed to initiate. They also need to learn how to work with their energy and discern, is it the right time? Are people listening? You know, am I going to come across as steamrolling people, or am I going to come across as sharing something really, really valuable? Okay. Okay. I think Chris has said, I'm concerned my therapy approach is not healthy. Okay. As I have a non-motorized defined throat and the other motors defined. I'm working on expressing myself as I was emotionally abused as a child. I do not express myself. So, Chris, I don't know what your therapy approach is, but if you are in a therapy situation with a therapist and you are this person is paying attention to you, which they should be because you're paying them, and they are there, you are responding to them being there to support you, right? And so in that situation, even though your throat isn't motorized, you are there, you're being invited to talk. So what might be helpful for you, again, I don't know what the specific approach of your therapy is, but one of the things that might be helpful for you is for your therapist to ask you questions that you could then get to respond to. Does that make sense? Because when you have questions, you have something that you get to respond to. I mean, that's one of the reasons I always ask you guys to ask questions, because then I have something to respond to. And you could even come up with questions you want her to ask you, and you could say, ask me variations of these questions so that you may not feel EMDR. Oh yeah, I think EMDR is great. But in order to get to the target in EMDR, you have to express yourself. You have to get to that target. But you know, you might ask your therapist to ask you questions for you to get to that target. That then you can do the EMDR that'll help dissipate the trauma that you have. Because the trauma is not going to release at the deepest level just through talking. Okay, you need an energy practice that, I hope the audio is back. I know my internet's been going a little funky today. I'm sorry about that. You need something somatic to help you release trauma. You can't just do it by talking through it, okay, or responding to a question. All right, dears, we're going to sign off for now. Chris, I hope that answered your response. We have one more thing here. Katun says, I had a very abusive manifestor in my face at a style gathering of all things. She kept saying she was a manifestor and therefore one of only 8%, when I didn't even know what human design was. See, you know, manifestors need to learn how to manage all that manifesting energy too, because they can just be really obnoxious. Okay. All right, everybody. Many blessings. Much love. Bye for now. Oh, you know what? If you want to just pop in the chat, I always forget to answer this. Tell me what you got out of today. You know, like name just like 1 or 2 things you're like, wow, I got this today. And that's always helpful for me. I'll leave this open for a moment to do that. And also for you, those of you who are there on Facebook, if you're still there, just pop in there and just tell me, what did you get out of today? Was it like an affirmation of you and who you are and how you work? Was it a a new framing of a something that I provided for you. If it was encouragement around your superpowers, whatever it might be. Okay, so Lori says, undefined throat needs to be invited to speak to be heard. Yes, absolutely. I got a reaffirmation of the connection to sex and creativity. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that it's helpful to do Q&A as a generator because then you have less to respond to. Exactly. You know, Jan, I know you said you were called to speak. It's really great, especially since you don't have a motorized throat. That would be super beneficial for you. And checking in with spirit with I wonder what I am to do. Yeah. And be curious. Don't ask a known manifester. I don't know what that means. They might steamroll you. That's funny. Let's see. Learning that my sexuality levels are normal at my age, and questions because it doesn't fit my experience. I'm not quite sure I know what that means, Carol, but good. I'm glad that that was helpful to you. All right, so next week we are going to talk about manifesting generators. So if you know a manifesting generator, you love a manifesting generator, you just want to learn more about them, I think most of us were generators today, come and check it out. All right, many blessings, much love. Bye for now.